My name's Ian. I'm a blockchain enthusiast, and my past is in corporate governance and finance. But I want to start by asking you guys, raise your hands if you're interested in blockchain technology. Okay, great. Raise your hands if you've invested in a cryptocurrency or some sort of blockchain technology. Okay, okay. And now raise your hands if you've actually used a blockchain. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, may I actually ask, what have you used a blockchain for? For learning. Fantastic.
I've used Atlant to borrow some money, pretty much.
Okay, great. And then we had 2 over here.
For trading.
For trading?
Yes.
Okay, right. Any others?
Masternodes.
Huh?
Masternodes.
Masternodes?
Yeah.
For actually getting money?
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, that's basically why I wanted to talk about this, because there's so much hype, there's so much money going into it, but then there's not that much actual people using blockchain technology. So I'm going to start with a hypothesis, and I want to know if you guys agree or disagree with me. The first one is blockchain technology will be used widely in our economy at some point in the near future. If you agree, raise your hand. Okay, fantastic. So that's encouraging. So this is just my outlook on how I see the future of blockchain. I think on the positive side, they can replace middlemen and intermediaries with the smart contract functionality. They can create assets that are global and borderless. The technical development around cryptocurrencies is fascinating. There's so many new little niches, like decentralized storage to processing. It's insane what's going on. Yet to be proven, but still interesting. Yeah, lots of speculative demand with the investors and lots of development. However, there's also a bit of a negative outlook too. The first one being, when I've been doing my research on use cases, I'm finding lots of actual businesses using blockchains to slim down their back end. So they're making their company more efficient, but this whole vision of the Web 3.0 doesn't really seem to be moving. The second one, garbage in, garbage out, is what I'm referring to as smart contracts. What you put into the smart contract, if the data is invalid or unreliable, then what you get on the other side is also going to be invalid. So it really I think it's a key issue we have in actually using smart contracts for the wider use cases. Then, just for cryptocurrencies, the market manipulation, you've seen the pumps and dumps, and it's just the volatility is insane. Regulation, no one really knows if countries are being very receptive to blockchains. They're certainly scared and interested, but who knows what's going to happen there. And this one, the perception, so certain people are confusing blockchains with cryptocurrencies. The people that don't actually know what a blockchain is just think, oh, Bitcoin, all this weird currency stuff, I'll stay away. When really the technology itself seems to has a lot more to offer. And then finally, the lack of actual proof of demand, because no one is seemingly using it that much. So I just want to go back to the first hypothesis and see, has anyone changed their mind? Does everyone still think that blockchain will be used in the future in our economy? Yeah. Who thinks it's going to be within a year? Who thinks within 5? Okay. And who thinks within 10? Okay. Does anyone think in shorter than 5, less than 5 years? Yeah.
I think it might come in, but not as expect it would be done as a closed blockchain. It's not encrypted. You can just go and buy on finance, but there's something set by an institution and put it in.
Okay. Yeah. No, I can see that like a smaller scale
Yeah.
thing.
So
Okay.
they might use banks. I think some governments were discussing using it to be a bank to bank with various countries.
Right. Okay. So they're just like scale within themselves.
Basically, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I see. Anyone else?
I think in some ways it's already to that point. It's just to what extent you're talking about. The people that use it are the economy. So instead of like all these little economic groups, you can spread it out more.
Okay.
So I think it's just to the extent who's going to use it.
Does anyone have a view as to why this is going to take 5 years, or like a forecast of what's going to happen? No, because I certainly don't know.
It takes time to go to mass market.
Yeah. Okay.
If blockchain ever gets mass adoption, as far as Bitcoin will be seen in its own light, rather than just as another Bitcoin spin-off.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This takes me to my second hypothesis, which is value will accrue to projects who can build natural demand or engage in network acquisition to acquire demand from other networks. This basically means that the projects that are actually getting customers and the customers that are actually using the technology are the ones that will ultimately dominate the market. So this is like the complete opposite to something like Tron, or maybe even something like EOS at the moment. That is just so much talk about it, but the use cases are very limited. So if you agree, raise your hands. Okay, that's interesting. There's like a 50-50 split. So someone who agreed, did you agree? Would you mind explaining a bit why?
So, because we are talking about
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry. Anyone else?
I mean, well, the English you're using here is quite like, there are some words which are not that easy to understand, but basically to put it in really plain English, what you're saying is blockchains that have natural demand will basically create the most demand. It won't be pretty much like, they will basically gain most, right? That have proper utility.
Yes, and last the longest.
Right.
Yeah.
So in a way you're saying like the market will follow the most useful blockchain.
Yeah.
Right.
In the long term.
In the long term.
Yeah.
Well, I would totally agree with that.
Did anyone disagree or feel strongly against it?
Yeah, I think first demand trust.
Mm.
So people using the blockchain trust.
To trust.
Don't need to trust.
Right.
And why not people join the blockchain project
Mm-hmm. So what maybe at the kind of current stage that it's in, it needs the kind of hype to actually grow as a sector. So yeah, I just wanted to show this really obvious, the typical economic supply and demand. Just to raise the point that what we're seeing with lots of these ICOs is that you have all this supply of coins at the market and absolutely zero demand, and it just sets a kind of new, the equilibrium that's being met now is traders. It's not actually people using it. And I think that it's important to recognize that the demand for the coins isn't actually people using them, it's people just purely speculating on them. And now I want to tell a story about, this is inspired by an article I read about a lady who worked in the shale gas industry in 2008, and she started to pull comparisons between what happened there and what's happening now in the crypto world. And the shale gas in the US in 2008 had a massive surge and then just crashed. Yeah, and she basically pointed out the key things that were going on there, and also spoke of the similarities that we're seeing in the blockchain world. The first one being production costs skyrocket due to demand for production assets. So in the shale gas world, the rigs that were getting leased were just the cost of the lease was surged, and she says that even the rig pigs, so the people doing all the dirty work, were living well. Yeah. And then similarly, the ICO service providers now, don't quote me on the number, but they're charging a fortune to actually help a business come to market with their ICO. And the fear is that people are planning long term just because of potentially short-term anomalies. Okay. The second point is that everyone overpays to squat on assets they believe are scarce. So yeah, in the shale gas, it's people paying for land, saying, okay, we're going to drill here at some point in the future, and then later they find that, okay, no, the price of gas has gone down, and we're going to have to drill at a loss. Yeah, but they've already paid to have that land. Similarly, half of us seem to be investing in currencies. We are not potentially the most sophisticated of investors, and as the kind of the hot deals get farmed out to venture capitalists, they're more likely to have means of getting out quicker, and then we may end up losing money. Third is that capital expenditure investments constrain the ability to get the supply to market. So this is basically about infrastructure. In the shale gas industry, lots of companies were getting paid for, were getting created to process and gather the gas, and they were the price of these partnerships just skyrocketed. Saying, oh, here's our product and people are using it. They're saying, oh, we've partnered with so-and-so, or we plan to do this roadmap, blah, 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 blah. There's a big difference. Yeah, so in the end, if there's no natural demand, it's going to trump the speculative demand. And yeah, I don't think there is a lot of natural demand for most of the tokens at the moment. Okay. And then just 5 things that I would consider before doing a capital expenditure investment are low production costs, which we have in the blockchain world with the ERC20 tokens, a large pool of supply, which we also have because we can ICO and say, okay, there's this much supply of the market, we have total control over it. Political environment is very unclear. Markets with demand but no supply. I'm not sure. And then finally, profitability in a wide range of scenarios. Again, it's difficult to know how it's going to pan out. So, back to hypothesis 2. Has anyone changed their mind? Or does anyone have anything they want to say about that section? Yeah?
With the ICOs, the idea of scarcity is a fallacy, because there's more ICOs produce either a coin or an ERC20 token. The Ethereum or whatever token is being, or whatever coin is being used for it, will go into a small number of hands of businesses, which will mean you're constantly expanding land to have a large number of ICOs. Otherwise, you'll just have a few businesses that will dump their tokens and dump the market every in cycles after an ICO raise or something. So it will always be like that.
Right.
Unless there's a sustainable increase in demand over time. Do you get my idea of how demand will
always?
People always just drop the coins as they get done.
Oh, as they ICO.
Well, as more and more ICOs come onto the market,
Yeah.
you're always going to get people going to these ICOs and funding these projects. And that means that you'll have less people with these coins and go to a smaller number of people's hands whose main intention is to get rid of these coins so they can get cash, either for good reasons, like setting up office, recruiting people, or for the bad reasons, getting a speedboat and hiding from the angry ICO investors. But these people always be wanting to dump that.
Yeah.
So I think demand's always going to be a bit.
So it's going to be fluctuating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone agree or disagree? I wanted to ask, has anyone looked at blockchain from a governance perspective, where it doesn't actually, the blockchain doesn't represent cash or a cash equivalent, and just represents like a vote or a proof of identity? Because that's an example where investors can't buy and sell, so you can't have that same level of speculative demand because you can't invest in it. So the only way that that's actually going to work is if people use it. That makes sense? Yeah? Okay. Third hypothesis, and perhaps the most controversial, the last one as well. Blockchains will create a decentralized economy. Agree? Disagree? Okay. So, this is an infographic of the blockchain world. These are all projects that are supposedly like the Web 3.0. Yeah. There's so much going on. I don't even know where to begin. Perhaps I'll point out some interesting ones like let's think. And you see on the far right, the applications one, you've got Steemit. That used to be a favourite of mine because it's a publishing platform that uses the inflation of the cryptocurrency to pay people who publish. So it's just a fascinating innovation, but it's again the natural demand that really puts it into question, and also if there's any kind of fundamental flaws to the way it's being built. So yeah, I'm just going to hone in on a few things. These are the applications or scenarios where I've seen blockchains actually get used. Okay, so in finance, or Silk Road. Everyone familiar with Silk Road?
Yes.
Yeah. Who's used Silk Road? Huh? Yes. Silk Road was the first one, and is a great use case. Well, not Yeah. ETH for loans. Someone mentioned that before. That's another case, another scenario where blockchains are getting used. Micropayments, yes, mini payments. So now I think WordPress are teaming up with blockchain experts, and they're creating a functionality whereby if I publish something, if I don't want you to see the whole article, I can hide most of it, and if you as a user want to read it, you can pay me like 1 pence. Yeah. So the micropayments hopefully rewards the publisher, but he's not taking an excessive amount. And then the last one is international money transfers. Has anyone done a money transfer with cryptocurrencies? Yeah. Did you do it from from a country to another country?
No, it was just from a wallet to another wallet. That's it.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Cool. Governance. I've seen blockchains get used in governance. There's a really interesting company called Earth Democracy who used the Bitcoin blockchain to count votes of expats in Colombia when there was the peace treaty, and these expats had lost their rights to vote, and they found out some really interesting some insights from them, and I think they're planning to expand more and more. And then MIT and the Uni of Melbourne now have people who finish a course, they can have their credentials verified on the blockchain, or at least on the ledger. Web 3.0 ideas. Is anyone familiar with the Open Bazaar? Yeah? It's like a buying and selling marketplace, which is fully functional, but again, the use cases are limited. MadeSafe. Is anyone familiar with MadeSafe? No? So it's like the decentralized internet idea. Is anyone here familiar with IFPS or IPFS? Yeah. So it's kind of like that. Steam I've talked about, and CryptoKitties.
I've heard of it pretty out a few times.
Yeah.
They were trading kitties, not just very rare kitties that would cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Real money.
Yeah, that's like they gamified the blockchain. But yeah, the point is that these are great ideas, but they're not getting used as much as I'd like. And then the final one is businesses. So businesses are using blockchains. The banks are using them for their back end. Yeah, so they don't have the internal, external auditor bouncing around these to verify transactions. Walmart and all other supermarket mega marts are announcing how they're going to use it in their supply chains, and then there's more and more businesses are applying for patents related to blockchains, and I feel like the vast bulk of the blockchain movement is happening here, where this is actually going to be implemented, and then this guy is going to be left behind. So I just want to finish with a debate about whether we are going to go to a decentralized economy or not. So anyone here was for a decentralized economy? Yeah, may I ask why?
I just don't like banks.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Yeah. And do you think that it will actually happen?
That's what I'm learning about.
Yeah.
I'm still new to all those ideas.
Right.
But I am worried about corporate involvement
Yeah.
and how it seems like they seem to be wanting to take control
Yeah.
and keep it centralized.
Yeah, so it's like blockchain within a business rather than blockchain as a business. And that's how you have your kind of decentralized organization, which is what I think a lot of people are really interested in. Any others? No? What about someone who doesn't think blockchain will create a decentralized economy? Yeah.
I think, well, totally decentralized will lead to chaos.
Yeah.
So we need some compromise or trade-off between centralized and decentralized.
Well, this is another theme that I've been looking at a lot, and it's governance of blockchains. Because even though you have a blockchain, it doesn't circumvent the fact that the blockchain itself needs to be managed. Yeah, and this is why I like Dash, because it has a treasury that some of it's when coins are mined, or when they have the inflation, some of it goes to a treasury, and then a masternode network decides on how that money is spent. Yeah, so the actual Dash developers themselves apply for funding via this mechanism. Yeah, so it's decentralized governance. It isn't a deal breaker for a decentralized economy, in my view. Any others? Yeah.
we live in the satellite world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all you using previous, at least for this centralized economies. Even your government, all the government guys want to make us follow their rules. Yeah, they make the satellite. Okay. So the blockchain has so a part of
problem that they will be currently trying to deal with is the garbage in, garbage out, where they may not trust their suppliers. So it doesn't matter if you have a immutable ledger. If people are saying, oh, you know, they're falsifying data, then it doesn't really matter. It's still going to be corrupt.
especially in the world who are and we still near the social countries. So yeah, another and all people guys 1 to 3, I think this rules is better than the fee in general.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it depends how you define decentralization, because all the patents that you listen, it's the Amazons, the IBMs of the world that are getting the best use of the tools. So if we're talking about decentralization as in governments aren't doing it, but big corporations are the ones that are now controlling the tool the best.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is decentralization in this utopian idea of equality and information sharing.
I think
we only have Amazon controlling that, that's not decentralization of anything.
Yeah.
And
Way I was, my thinking when I define that is as like being governed by decentralized autonomous organizations that are self-governed by the network itself. Now, I don't know what governance framework they will be using, but I think the optimal one is like a process of delegation. So there's still bottom-up power where the nodes can vote for delegates to do certain roles, but ultimately they can say, okay, the guy at the top isn't behaving how we want him to, so we can get rid of him, rather than the kind of typical governance, centralized governance frameworks you have where once you get to the top of the power, it's hard for the others to get rid of you. Once you're up, you're there for good. Yeah? And when you go, your friend goes in instead. So that's how I would define a decentralized economy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also really important to do your research for that reason really well. If you look at the blockchain space, to really look like, how is this blockchain presented to people? Like, hey, this is great, it's going to be great for everybody, it's decentralized, but then also taking the time to dive deeper into how Amazon structures its blockchain. I mean, not any blockchain is the same. You have so many ways of structuring blockchains, and if you look at Amazon's blockchain in that case, if they have one already, basically you should look at how are the coins distributed. Are there some people who have a little bit more power? Because if Amazon creates a blockchain that's really decentralized, you would be able to see that within the structure of their code. Like if they do an open source blockchain, you would be able to see if they're really saying doing what they're saying they're doing. So I think research is key in that sense to understand which ones are really.
But that level of transparency is not there, and no one's checking. Like that's a very hard thing to check. And then if I don't know how to check that, then I'm relying on someone else telling me trust them. It's okay.
Yeah. Then I would say like, don't buy don't buy into that blockchain. Don't have anything to do with that. Like do your research. If a blockchain says we are not open source, we're not going to show you how we operate, and they say we're not going to show you with some scams. You also have that we're not going to show you who the founders are. Like they're mysterious about that. Don't buy into it. You should have like an alarm, like this is a scam. That should be like running, or at least saying in Amazon's case, like it's not really decentralized. It's secretly centralized.
Yes.
You know, like that.
Yep.
Just have some few things to criticize.
Yes.
Like my 2 cents, blockchain. Blockchain can't create a decentralized economy. It's just a ground for a decentralized economy. Like there is a lot of problem running into with blockchain, right?
Yeah.
Like energy and stability and transaction volume. Bitcoin mining consumes more than 0.1% of the world's electricity, and also blockchain is running into such a really serious problem about stability.
Yeah.
Like to synchronizing a global ledger across one node. So blockchain can be a ground for a decentralized economy, but if we want a really decentralized economy, we need some kind of improvement. Let's say blockchain is really first idea of a decentralized economy.
Yeah. I totally agree.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I also think that there is some room for optimism and hope because you have now Ethereum are working on a thing called proof of stake. Yes, so Bitcoin runs on proof of work, which is they have all these computers solving that super difficult algorithm, and it's very energy intensive. And proof of stake works by people they stake some of the cryptocurrency and say, okay, I vouch for these transactions. So that if it actually works, the energy intensity of confirming a block significantly decreases. And then you also have people solving scalability issues. There's one called the Lightning, is it Lightning Network? Yeah, and then you have another one which is Segwit. Yeah, Segwit.
Yeah.
And there may be one more. So there's people who are solving these kind of root or fundamental problems. So I still think there's hope.
Yeah, maybe there are some really promising technology that blockchain leads to, like the technology behind the cryptocurrency and IOTA, IOTA, Tangle, like that. So I think the future of a decentralized economy is based on some kind of that technology, and the blockchain will be the very first thing, and maybe he will die, and then another guy will be launching the lights.
Yeah, because Tangle is in a way a blockchain that is a bit more centralized, and I would say that there's always the trade-off. Like either you have real decentralization, but it will also be slow, or it will be more centralized, and a small group of people will have more power, but it will be faster. And in the case of IOTA, it's a Tangle, and those are on that side. It's a little bit faster, but it's also more centralized. And I think those are only the problems on the development side, how you create the blockchain. That's like the supply side, the developers, the guys that create the blockchain. But on the other side, you have the guys that use the blockchain, the users of the blockchain. And I think I haven't heard any discussion today about how people use the blockchain. And I think that's also really essential, because we've talked about Ethereum, right? There are some people creating Ethereum. They're really smart. They have great ideas. But there are also people using Ethereum for things like CryptoKitties, right? And I mean, look at the difference between people talking about Ethereum. It's kind of like, Ethereum is the future. It's science fiction. It is super smart, only for really smart people. It's the internet 3.0. But when you see people using it, they're using it for a very stupid game called CryptoKitties. And actually, they're using it so much for cryptocurrencies that the whole network of Ethereum was like congested I wanted to do a transaction to my friend on Ethereum, and it didn't work because all people were doing CryptoKitties on Ethereum. So this is the problem on the user side. And I think we also have to look at the problems that pretty much just users create by using something really smart for something really stupid, and thereby destroying the smart creation, I think. And we need to be careful at looking at the way people use blockchains as well. So yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion about that as well. Do you think blockchains are being used in the way people intended it to be used? Do you think so? Do you think there's a... No. We have why not?
Because at the moment they're just being used as speculation.
Right. Really good point.
The actual technology and the theories behind it. Like Bitcoin, it says in that white paper that it would be used as a digital currency for transactions.
Right.
All right, I know we've got a few places, we've got a Bitcoin ATM here, but the reality is with the transaction costs and all the costs associated, and the way the network works and the speed of the network, it's totally unusable for its originally intended purpose at the moment.
Yeah. So in a way, you're saying that even Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies, because of trading and speculation, are not being used the way they were created, the way they were intended to be used, right? And I think that's a really good question to ask yourself. And I think that's also the reason why many governments are kind of like, hey, wait, why should we allow this if it's not being used for anything good? It's just used for trading, people lose money, there are scams. You've had iPhone coin, Pincoin, you know, $600 million were scammed here. It was incredible. So I understand the issues around this subject. However, what I want to do as well with this meetup is to stretch the envelope and expand the way we can look at this between not just currency, not just trading and making money. It's about a much broader perspective, which Ian is doing a really good job at explaining, actually. So I think that's the important thing to look at, that it's not just currency, it's much more than that. So yeah, I still have hope. Even though all those things, I believe that the space can decentralize lots of industries. And also the currency industry still looks really promising. I just think people need to learn more about it, to appreciate it for the thing it really is, not just for making money out of nothing, you know? So yeah, really good point, Ben. Really nice. Thank you.
Do you have a comment? Yeah.
I really like the point where decentralized economy, where anyone can join the economy, but no one have enough power to control the economy or change it. So, one more thing is that anyone can join and join
in developing such.
Yeah.
Are there any problems?
I've never thought about using. I think my thinking was that because the network has to solve this algorithm, it's the way of creating a ledger that everyone agrees upon, and it's like the mechanism that adds blocks to the blockchain. If there is another use case where it doesn't require a complicated algorithm, then I suppose proof of stake. I really don't know. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So what you're saying basically is that this algorithm, right, SHA, which is used to make things that are normally public, like messages, transactions, which go through a network, it kind of, it's like before it goes to the network, you lock it with a key, and that's the SHA, the encryption. You lock it with a key, then it flies into a box to the other side, and then you can unlock it with the key. That is what encryption is, basically, I'd say. But your question is if there are still problems within the encryption of cryptocurrencies that need to be solved, and is it easy to contribute in that, right?
Yes.
Right, because there are many jobs in the cryptocurrency space. I can tell you, if you want a job in the cryptocurrency space, go look on LinkedIn, go look on AngelList. There are many like application open for anybody that has a good motivation and good skills to get into. So if you need advice on that, just come to me. I'll help you with some websites and stuff. I can just, I just give the information I have. And encoding and SHA encryption is a problem in that. I mean, SHA, that encryption is used by the CIA and the NSA, so the National Security Agency of the USA, and the CIA. They use that to encode their messages. The USA military uses it, so it's really safe. However, there are a lot of surrounding issues around this encryption that still can be solved and can be improved. For example, Zcash is a coin just like Bitcoin, but it focuses more on privacy. And they have a thing called zero knowledge proof transactions. They're called ZK snarks. I don't know if you've heard about them. And they pretty much make the transaction more secure. So those are not working on encryption, but they're working around the encryption to add things to it which make it even more safe. So if you can look into that and work on that and show any company that you have knowledge on that, you can probably get a job in the company if you're good at programming, and, you know, kind of like that. It's a lot of demand for people working in that space. Yeah.
Sorry, I have just one more question. Yes. In the field, I'm actually working in the field of artificial intelligence and deep learning. So we had two very severe problems. Deep learning algorithms are hungry for data, and we need a lot of data. But we can solve it very efficiently. But the next thing is they require very expensive and scarce computational resources, such as some very powerful computers or graphic processing units. So, but and besides from that, I heard a lot of people that they said they need a lot of graphic processing units, aka GPUs, to mine the cryptocurrency or to earn a token. So can you explain a little bit about why do they have to use GPUs?
Okay, so this is referring to distributed computing. See that one there?
Distributed storage.
Distributed computing underneath that, where the column, and then there's a small one called IFX.EC.
It means that we can parallelly solving the problem. We can solve the problem parallel. In parallel, in a lot of units.
Yeah, it's sort of like what's it called? Like peer-to-peer.
Electronic platform. So when the signal come in, they come out on any calculation.
Right. You mean ASICs, right? Right. Assigned integrated short. What is it? Assigned short integrated circuits. Those are like it's pretty much an evolution of computer chips. So first they were using CPUs, which is like the brain of a computer. There's a CPU in those two computers. And CPUs were quite fast at it, but then they discovered that GPUs were even faster at it. So they started using GPUs. But those were both not made for mining. So after that there was another step in the evolution of mining, which was companies creating computer chips specially for mining. And those are called ASICs. So you can look into that. If you want, I have a really nice it's kind of a joke. You see like the monkey becoming a human, evolution, that picture, and you see like the CPU becoming an ASIC kind of, and it's a really fun way of visualizing that. And I think it's totally true. They're getting faster and faster, and there are actually factories, mostly in China, producing ASICs, and a lot of people don't agree with that because they are the only ones that are producing it. So they're like, it's centralized, you know? So that's another thing you can get into. But yeah, ASICs, those are like the future.
I think I misunderstood your question. So I thought what you were trying to say is how can you harness the power of the network to have more computing power?
I was asking the question in terms of the hardware perspective.
Right, okay.
What devices create the token or the
Okay, sorry for the misunderstanding.
Thanks for the answer.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, one thing I want to share that on the first few days of Bitcoin, you can mine it by paper and pencil.
No, really? Really?
Yeah,
It was that, okay, but how long, okay, that's really ridiculous, that's really good, that's the best. So is there actually videos of somebody doing that or something? I'd love to see that.
Maybe I can try it again.
Please, yeah, we should watch that. It's like a Bitcoin being mined by somebody's brain, you know, that's just beautiful, wonderful, very nice, cool. Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Last one, anyone? Or we can finish up. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, man.